What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? The beeping sound came first. Then the sterile smell of disinfectant. Then the cold, unmistakable sense that something had gone terribly wrong. Emily Carson blinked against the harsh fluorescent light above her, trying to recall how she'd ended up in a hospital gown, wires taped to her chest, her arm restrained slightly by an A4 line. A nurse entered briskly, clipboard in hand, eyes flicking to Emily's startled expression before softening. "Ms. Carson. You fainted at work. You've been here for about 4 hours." The nurse paused, then added, "We ran some tests. Your muscle density is significantly lower than it should be for your age." Emily's lips moved but no sound came out. 42 wasn't old. Not by Silicon Valley standards. Not by her own expectations. She was a biotech engineer, head of R&D at a respected health tech firm, a woman who lived on oat milk lattes, kombucha, and intermittent fasting. She'd never even broken a bone. And now this? The doctor came in, middle-aged, distracted. He rattled off terms: sarcopenia, early onset, protein deficiency, possible autoimmune markers, recommended a neurologist. "You've been losing muscle mass at an accelerated rate. It's rare, but not unheard of. Might be lifestyle-related, or genetic. We need more tests." Lifestyle-related? She hadn't taken a vacation in 6 years. She practically lived in the lab. Emily closed her eyes. The last thing she remembered was adjusting CRISPR settings on a stem cell trial and reaching for her tea before everything turned to static. When she was discharged, there was no one to pick her up. Her phone buzzed with texts from her boss, not asking about her health, but whether she'd submitted the molecular comp reports. She didn't respond. On the ride home in the Uber, the driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "You okay?" She smiled faintly. "Just tired." She lied, even though something in her felt broken, not just in her body, but in her spirit. Her apartment, sleek and efficient, felt suddenly sterile and empty. Her daughter, Maya, 17, lived with her ex-husband Jason in Palo Alto, and their relationship had grown distant. She opened her laptop, intending to distract herself, when she noticed an email with the subject line, "SpaceX Private Biotech Invitation." At first, she thought it was spam. Then she noticed the sender's domain and the signature, Elon Musk, CEO. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was an invitation to consult on a top-secret longevity research program related to Mars colonization, focused on muscle preservation in zero gravity. "We're interested in your work on muscle regeneration pathways. Your data from the NV-14 trial has been reviewed. We'd like to speak with you. In person." Her breath caught. Emily wasn't someone who got starstruck, but this wasn't just anyone. She had long admired Musk's insane work ethic, his disregard for limits. But why her? She wasn't exactly the poster child for muscle longevity at the moment. She clicked reply, "Available anytime. Just tell me where." 2 days later, she was walking into a sleek, soundless conference room in a restricted area of SpaceX headquarters. It felt surreal. Musk entered without ceremony, wearing a black tee and dark jeans. No entourage. Just him. He gave her a nod. "Emily Carson. I've read your work. Fascinating stuff." She nodded back, unsure what to say. "Your team says you've been studying muscle atrophy in zero-G simulations," she offered. Musk leaned forward. "We're losing the fight against aging. Everyone's focused on longevity pills, brain uploads, biohacks. But no one's talking about the foundation, the body. You lose your muscle, you lose your independence. Doesn't matter how sharp your brain is if your legs give out." Emily's heart raced. "I'm dealing with something like that right now." She explained her recent diagnosis. Musk didn't blink. "Then you understand the urgency." He stood, walked over to a whiteboard, and began drawing a basic timeline. By the time most people hit 40, they've lost 8% of their muscle mass. By 70, it's 30%. That's if they're lucky. We want to reverse that. Not just delay it, regenerate what's lost. But we need people who've been there. Who understand what's at stake. Emily realized this wasn't just a consulting gig. He wanted her to be a part of something bigger. We'll start with remote work. You'll get access to our muscle matrix models. But I'll be honest, this won't be easy. You'll be under scrutiny. And you'll need to rebuild your own body, too. Lead by example. The words hit hard. Rebuild her own body. She'd spent a lifetime building biotech for others. Could she really do it for herself? She accepted. That night, lying awake in bed, she texted Maya for the first time in weeks. Hey. Want to go on morning walks together? Could use a workout buddy. It was after midnight. She didn't expect a reply. But at 12:03 a.m., one came. Sure. I miss you. The next morning, they walked in silence for the first 5 minutes. Maya wore oversized headphones. Emily tried not to limp. Her muscles still ached. What's going on with you? Maya asked eventually. Emily hesitated. I'm trying to get strong again. Maya looked at her. You were always strong. Emily blinked against the sunlight. Not as much as I pretended. Over the next few weeks, she began training lightly. Resistance bands, protein smoothies, infrared sauna sessions. She logged every change. She started a private vlog, documenting the process, not for attention, but to track her progress. Unexpectedly, she found herself enjoying it. The structure. The honesty. Musk's team sent her modules, models, and data, predictive simulations for zero-gravity muscle degradation. One late night, she posted her first public video. I'm 42. I just found out I'm losing muscle faster than I should. I'm a scientist. But I didn't see this coming. Maybe someone else needs to hear this. She expected silence. Instead, the comments flooded in. Veterans. Nurses. Single moms. Former athletes. All saying the same thing, this is me too. One morning, while analyzing mitochondria scans, she noticed something off in the code of the new protein synthesis sequence. It was subtle, but crucial. Someone had altered the data pipeline. She traced the changes to a junior researcher from her former company, someone with access to her archived work. It looked like sabotage. Musk's chief of biosecurity confirmed it. The project was almost compromised. Her reputation was at stake. For a moment, she considered quitting. But she didn't. Instead, she doubled down. You think I'm weak, she whispered aloud, lifting a 10-pound weight with shaking arms. Watch me. Her next video went viral. She broke down the science behind age-related muscle loss in simple, direct terms. No fluff. Just facts. You lose 1% of muscle mass every year after 30. If you don't actively fight it, you're giving your future away. Within a week, she was invited to speak at 2 conferences. Maya edited her slides. Her ex, Jason, reached out to ask if they could meet for coffee. I saw your video, he said. You're doing something important. Emily nodded. For the first time, I feel like I am. That night, she received a voice message from Musk. Good work. Keep pushing. The problem isn't age. It's decay. And that can be reversed. She listened to it 3 times. At 3 a.m., she recorded another video. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough. She paused, looking directly into the lens. For me, it's knowing I'm not done yet. The screen went dark. Her muscles still ached. Her fears hadn't vanished. But the fire was back. This wasn't the end. It was just the start. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emily Carson wasn't born a fighter, but life made her one. She could still remember the smell of motor oil clinging to her father's flannel shirt, the creak of his prosthetic leg when he climbed the stairs to her tiny bedroom to say goodnight. He had come back from the war with a purple heart and a silence that wrapped around him like armor. He didn't talk much, but his lessons were loud in their own way. Strength isn't about how much you lift, he used to say. It's about how much you carry without letting it crush you. Emily had carried a lot. Her mother had left when she was 7, unable to handle the quiet devastation of a man who had returned from Iraq with half a leg and a full load of trauma. Emily became his shadow, watching, learning, adapting. By the time she was 15, she knew how to rebuild a carburetor, solder a circuit board, and avoid the kind of emotional landmines that came from asking too many questions. Her brain became her sanctuary. It obeyed when emotions didn't. She aced calculus, devoured biology textbooks, and graduated top of her class. College was her escape. MIT was a revelation, fast-paced, competitive, alive with ideas. She studied biomedical engineering with a hunger born of necessity. If she could understand the body, maybe she could fix it, her father's, her own, anyone's. She met Jason during her final year. He was charming, full of charisma, a smooth-talking psychology major who loved her ambition but feared its consequences. They married too fast, had Maya too young, and unraveled just as quickly when work pulled her into deeper and deeper hours in the lab while Jason drifted toward motivational speaking and startup schemes. You love your work more than your family, he told her during one of their final arguments. Maybe he was right. Maybe that was the only way she knew how to survive. After the divorce, Maya became the invisible thread between them. They shared custody, but in reality, Jason had more presence. Emily sent money, made sure Maya had tutoring, orthodontics, and the best school tech gear, but the day-to-day bonding slipped through her fingers like sand. Now, staring at her computer screen late at night, reading messages from strangers thanking her for telling the truth about aging, Emily felt a wave of guilt so sharp it made her nauseous. She had tried to fix the world while letting her own daughter grow up without her anchor. The past was written, but the future was still blank. She clicked into Maya's latest Instagram story, filtered photos with friends, captions full of teen sarcasm, and smiled. At least she was okay. The next morning, Maya met her at the park again. They walked in silence at first. Emily focused on the pain in her legs, not sharp, just tired, as if her body was trying to negotiate each movement. You really fainted at work? Maya asked. Yeah, Emily said. Doctors say I've been losing muscle too fast. Maya frowned. I thought you were healthy. I thought so too. Maya didn't say anything for a while. Then, you're doing those videos now. The ones about muscle stuff. Emily glanced at her. You watched them? Some. It's weird seeing you talk like a person and not a scientist. That stung, but she smiled anyway. I'm trying to be both. That afternoon, she dove back into the SpaceX muscle simulations. The data was fascinating. In zero gravity, the body loses muscle mass at twice the rate as on Earth. Astronauts, even elite ones, could lose 20% of their strength in just a few weeks without resistance protocols. Musk's team had built predictive AI models to simulate the breakdown. But what intrigued Emily most was the idea of cross-applying the tech to aging Earthside bodies. If they could build resistance programs for space, couldn't they use them to slow or reverse degeneration here? She wrote up a proposal, develop a scalable training and nutritional protocol based on anti-sarcopenia principles from space medicine, targeting women over 40. She called it Project Reboot. That evening, while tweaking her pitch, she got a call from her father's old friend Carl, a former Marine. "Heard you're working on something about muscle loss," he said. "You know your dad would have needed that." Emily hadn't thought about it in those terms. Her father had died of a heart attack at 58, but his last years were marked by weakness, falls, dependency. "I think it's too late for him," she said. "But not for others." Carl's voice cracked slightly. "You're doing good, kid." After the call, she opened her old family photo folder. There was one image she hadn't looked at in years, her dad holding Maya as a baby, both of them asleep in the recliner, her father's prosthetic foot resting lightly on the edge of a faded rug. She stared at it for a long time. Later that week, she had her first video call with the full SpaceX muscle research team. Young, brilliant, hyper-efficient. Some of them barely looked older than her interns. One of them, Owen, a bioinformatics lead, had that slight edge of arrogance. "We appreciate your experience, Emily," he said, "but some of your muscle regeneration pathways look outdated compared to current AI models." She nodded slowly. "They probably are. But I'm also the only one here who's both designing this and living through it. That counts for something." Silence. Then Musk himself chimed in, voice crisp and unbothered. "She's right. Data's only as useful as the body it applies to. Let her work." That quieted everyone. The following days were a blur of coding, protein modeling, muscle simulation tweaks. Emily trained every morning, lifted light weights with Maya, tracked her macros, slept more, cut caffeine, added creatine and peptides based on clinical trials. Her body protested, but her mind felt clearer than it had in years. And the changes, slow as they were, began to show. She recorded another vlog. "We always assume our minds will carry us, but your body is your mind's ride or die. Lose the body, and the mind loses its voice. Today I walked a mile farther than I did last week. It hurt. But I did it." She ended the video with a smile. It hit 200,000 views in 3 days. Then came the email. Her former company, Vector Cell Biotech, was accusing her of taking proprietary data with her when she joined the SpaceX collaboration. It wasn't true. She'd left clean. But someone was trying to ruin her. The attached document cited similarities between her NV-14 trials and the current models she'd posted in her reboot protocol. She knew immediately who it was, Gerald, her former team lead, who'd always resented that a woman was getting more attention than he was. Musk's legal team stepped in immediately. Within hours, they had traced the complaint back to an anonymous tip originating from Gerald's wife's IP address. The claim was dismissed. Still, the stress rattled her. That night, her hands shook as she lifted her 15-pound dumbbells. Maya found her in the living room, sweat pouring down her face, chest heaving. "Are you okay?" "No," Emily gasped. "But I'm still going." Maya sat beside her, didn't say anything, just offered her water and a towel. For the first time in years, Emily cried in front of her daughter. "I'm sorry I wasn't there more when you were little," she said. "I was trying to build something. But I forgot who I was building it for." Maya didn't hesitate. "Then build something now. With me." The next day, they started planning a small podcast together, mother and daughter, talking about strength, wellness, failure, resilience. Emily called it The Muscle Between. Their first episode: What We Inherit, and What We Fight For. Musk tweeted it. "This is what legacy looks like. Fix the body, fix the future." The tweet exploded. Emily didn't care about fame. But she did care that people were listening. Watching. Changing. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every man who wanted to hold his grandkids without pain. Every woman who was told 40 was the beginning of the end. Every teenager who thought health meant skinny and not strong. She was just getting started. The email came at 3:47 a.m. A time when most people are either asleep or wrestling demons they'd rather not name. Emily was awake, as usual, watching mitochondrial response data run simulations on her second monitor while trying not to dwell on the dull ache in her shoulders. The subject line, SPX Mars Biome, Pre-selection. The body was short. You've been shortlisted for an in-person assessment at the Hawthorne facility. Participation in the Mars Biome Human Simulation Protocol requires biometric evaluation. Physical standards apply. Emily stared at it for a full minute before it hit her. She wasn't just consulting anymore. She was being evaluated for potential participation in the Mars human testing environment, a simulated habitat replicating what future colonists would face. The kicker. Physical standards. And she wasn't close to meeting them. Not yet. The next morning, she didn't tell Maya about the email. Instead, she upped her training. 15-pound weights became 20. Her resistance bands moved to the next color tier. She added slow hill runs, short bursts that made her lungs scream and her legs feel like iron pylons. Her Fitbit started buzzing like a hyperactive bee. She cut her carbs to just whole grains, increased protein intake, started supplementing with NAD precursors, and added yoga twice a week. By week 2, her body started showing subtle shifts, muscle tone edging back into her arms, her posture stronger, her gait more balanced. But inside, doubt grew like mold. Was she just chasing vanity? Trying to prove something she no longer needed to prove? And then there was the reality, she had data in her favor, yes. She had experience, intellect, fire. But she also had a body still rebuilding itself from years of chronic neglect, overwork, and quiet disintegration. One Thursday afternoon, she received a call from Raj Patel, a longtime colleague and former mentor. "I heard about the Mars biome opportunity," he said. "You're actually thinking of doing the eval?" "I'm not thinking. I'm preparing." Silence. Then a sigh. "You know they're screening out anyone with early sarcopenia markers, right? I'm reversing it. You're slowing it. That's not the same." Emily's jaw clenched. Why does everyone act like aging is a one-way trip? Like we're passengers on some slow-motion crash? Because, sometimes we are. But she wasn't ready to accept that. She refused to. That night, after Maya had gone to bed, Emily watched a video Elon had recorded during a TED interview a year earlier. In it, he spoke about entropy, the slow breakdown of systems, both mechanical and biological. The key, he said, is understanding where the breakdown begins. You can't stop entropy. But you can redirect energy. You can reinforce weak links. The body is a system. Treat it like one. Emily rewound that clip 5 times. Treat it like a system. That was the missing piece. Her training wasn't just about strength or weight or performance. It was about systems. Biofeedback. Hormone levels. Sleep cycles. Stress metrics. Muscle synthesis. Nervous system coordination. She redesigned her entire protocol from the ground up. She built out a dashboard that tracked everything: daily micronutrient intake, cortisol levels via wearable sensors, HRV fluctuations, even her reaction times. She layered her biological self into an engineering model. When Musk's team saw it, they called it the most complete adaptive recovery framework we've ever seen applied to midlife bodies. The lead data analyst, Kara, sent her a DM, "Honestly, I think you're ahead of some of our astronaut candidates." Encouraged, Emily posted another vlog. Aging isn't decline. It's disorganization. If you want to win, don't just fight aging. Engineer your response. The video hit 500,000 views in 2 days. But success always draws shadows. Gerald struck again, this time writing a scathing op-ed on Medium, anonymously posted, titled, "The False Hope of Midlife Regeneration." He implied that scientists like Emily were peddling dreams to the desperate, and called her work emotionally driven, data-thin vanity science. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She printed the article, highlighted the sentence that stung the most, and pinned it above her treadmill. Every morning, when her muscles screamed, she stared at those words and thought, "You don't get to define me." Then came the real test. A letter arrived with the SpaceX seal, her official invitation to the Mars biome physical evaluation. It included a schedule, 3-day assessment, baseline strength testing, aerobic stress load, pressure chamber tolerance, and problem-solving under fatigue. She had 2 weeks. She didn't tell anyone, not even Maya, until the night before she left. "So, you're going to LA?" Maya asked, eyes wide. "To do astronaut stuff?" Emily laughed. "More like middle-aged scientist proving she's not done stuff." Maya hugged her. "I think it's cool." The next morning, Emily flew to Hawthorne. The facility was massive, white, silent, intimidating. The other candidates were younger, sleeker, more physically capable. Ex-athletes. Ex-military. She felt like a fraud until the first endurance trial. It involved problem-solving while walking on an inclined treadmill in a sealed chamber. Her lungs burned, her calves throbbed, but her brain, sharpened by years of multitasking and lab stress, stayed crisp. She solved her problems faster than anyone else. Day 2 brought physical strength tests. She didn't top any charts, but she exceeded baseline metrics for her age bracket and surprised the assessors by improving on every retest. On day 3, during the oxygen deprivation simulation, she nearly passed out, but recovered in under 90 seconds and immediately requested a second attempt. She finished stronger the second time. After the final debrief, one of the evaluators, a former Air Force colonel, pulled her aside. "We weren't expecting much from you, I'll be honest. But you proved something here." "What's that?" she asked. He smiled. "You can outthink pain. That's rare." Emily flew home feeling something she hadn't felt in years, not pride exactly, but alignment. A sense that her mind and body were finally working together again. Musk sent her a short message the day after she returned. "You're in. Keep building." That night, she and Maya went out for dinner, just the two of them, at a little Thai place they used to go to before the divorce. Maya asked questions about the simulations, about the chamber, about what it felt like to push past limits. Emily answered everything honestly, but it was Maya's final question that left her speechless. "Do you think I'll lose muscle like you did when I get older?" Emily put down her fork. "Only if you stop moving. Only if you give up." Maya nodded. "Then I won't." Emily smiled. "Good. Because I'm not done teaching you how to fight." She went to sleep that night with a sore body, a full heart, and the growing certainty that her story wasn't just a comeback, it was a call to arms. The first sign that things were about to change came in the form of a malfunction alert from one of the AI-driven protein synthesis models Emily had helped optimize. It wasn't a big error, just a blip in the replication matrix, but it triggered a cascade of flawed data outputs that nearly corrupted an entire batch of digital muscle regeneration simulations. Owen from the SpaceX bioinformatics team flagged it immediately and looped Emily in with a short, irritated message. "Was this tweak yours?" She stared at the screen, reviewing the logs. It wasn't her tweak, and she hadn't authorized any changes in that section of the model. "No," she wrote back. "Trace the source." Within hours, it was clear the alteration came from a temporary developer credential that had been terminated weeks ago. Someone had bypassed protocols. Musk's security team launched an internal review. Emily didn't have time to wait for the fallout. She was already knee-deep in prepping the next phase of Project Reboot, now being considered for real-world clinical pilot testing in postmenopausal women. The plan was to combine AI personalized training regimens with optimized nutrient feedback loops, wearable biosensors, and recovery algorithms that adapted daily based on performance. It sounded like science fiction, but they had the models, the data, and now the public support. Ever since her Mars biome trial video went viral, emails had poured in from people, mostly women, asking when they could join the trial, how they could help, what they could do to take control of their aging. One message stuck out. It was from a woman named Grace in Ohio, 67 years old, former marathoner, now struggling with arthritis and mobility loss. "I don't care about six-packs," she wrote. "I just want to be able to walk around the block again without feeling like my body is turning to glass. If your program can help with that, I'm in." Emily read the message 3 times and then forwarded it to Musk with a single sentence: "This is who we're doing it for." His response came less than an hour later. "Then let's build it for her." Emily got clearance to initiate Phase 1 trials in 3 cities, Austin, Denver, and San Jose. She recruited a cross-section of women, ages 45 to 70, all dealing with muscle loss, chronic fatigue, or age-related mobility challenges. They were skeptical at first, some even hesitant to show up for the initial assessments, but Emily met each of them in person, looked them in the eye, and told them the truth: this isn't about reversing time. It's about reclaiming power. Your body's still listening. We just need to give it the right commands. They believed her. Week by week, she watched these women push through their own resistance, lifting light weights, tracking protein intake, analyzing their own biometrics with a kind of awe. One of them, Karen, 58, hadn't been able to walk up a flight of stairs without pain for over 2 years. By the end of week 6, she sent Emily a video of herself jogging to her mailbox. Another, Louisa, 63, wept on a Zoom call when her grip strength test showed a 15% improvement. "I thought this was all downhill," she said. "But I'm climbing again." Emily documented everything. The results were promising. Small gains in muscle mass, reductions in inflammatory markers, improvements in VO2 max and bone density. It wasn't flashy, but it was real. And then the sabotage became public. A data leak hit Reddit and biotech message boards, accusing Project Reboot of inflating trial results. The documents were poorly forged, but they looked official enough to cause confusion. Some people assumed it was Gerald again, but this time it came from an IP tied to a competitor startup, Bioforma, ironically, a company once spun out of Emily's own research during her years at VectorCell. She went online, posted a short video: "Transparency is our policy. All our trial data is open source and peer-reviewed in real time. We have nothing to hide. And to whoever's trying to shut this down, you're not stopping me. You're not stopping these women." The comments exploded with support. Musk retweeted the video with a caption: "Build for truth. Break everything else." But the stress took a toll. Emily's right shoulder seized up during a training session, and her old fatigue crept back in the following week. She tried to ignore it, to push through like always, but one morning, she couldn't lift her right arm past her chest. She went to the clinic in silence, dreading the diagnosis. A partial rotator cuff tear. Probably from training without proper recovery time. The doctor suggested surgery. Emily shook her head. "Not now. I'm in the middle of a rollout. If you don't let it heal, you'll lose function long term. I'll do the rehab. Just, no scalpel." She doubled down on mobility training, started using infrared therapy, cold plunges, and neuromuscular stimulation. It slowed her, but it didn't stop her. Meanwhile, her bond with Maya deepened. The podcast they started, The Muscle Between, gained traction, especially among younger women who were starting to wake up to the reality that aging wasn't something that happened at 60, but something that began slowly at 30. One episode, titled "Your Body is Not a Rental," it's a blueprint, went viral on Spotify, racking up over 400,000 streams in a month. In it, Emily said, "We're taught that we rent our youth and pay for it later. But what if youth is something we can extend, not in vanity, but in vitality? Not by freezing time, but by feeding the system that keeps us upright, strong, alive." Musk sent her a voice message after listening to it. That line about the body not being a rental. That's the core. Put it on shirts. On billboards. Make it a movement. So she did. Project Reboot went from an internal pilot to a funded initiative with full SpaceX backing. Emily partnered with engineers to create wearable bands that tracked muscle stimulation and micro-fatigue in real time, integrating that data with the AI protocols she had spent the last year perfecting. But none of it compared to the night she was invited to speak at a Global Health Innovation Summit in New York. It was her first time on a major stage in nearly a decade. Jason and Maya flew out to see her. She wore a navy blue suit with subtle shoulder padding to disguise her recovering arm, and as she walked to the podium, her legs felt strong beneath her, grounded, like she was finally standing on the solid version of herself. She opened with a story, not data. "I fainted in a lab because I ignored my body. I thought my mind would carry me forever. But strength isn't stubbornness. It's awareness. And every cell in your body is listening to the life you live. The good news? It will respond to you. If you speak the right language." The crowd rose to its feet when she closed. She didn't cry, but she came close. Later, backstage, Jason hugged her. "You did it," he said. She smiled. "I'm just getting started." He glanced at her shoulder. "How's the tear?" "Healing," she said. "Like the rest of me." That night in the hotel room, Maya curled up beside her in bed and whispered, "Mom, you're strong again." Emily kissed her forehead. "No, honey. I'm stronger than I've ever been." She didn't need an audience to believe it. She felt it in every breath, every rep, every quiet morning walk. And in the echo of her father's voice in her memory, "You carry what matters. You build what lasts." The unexpected breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday morning when Emily received a message from an anonymous source claiming to have information about a hidden layer of Musk's research, something called the longevity neural modulator, buried deep in SpaceX's bioengineering division. The message included partial files, encrypted and incomplete, but enough to pique her curiosity and set off alarm bells. She debated whether to dive in or dismiss it as a prank. The risk was high. If this was true, it meant Musk was working on neural interfaces specifically designed to combat age-related muscle atrophy at the cellular signaling level, something beyond what was publicly disclosed. After a restless night, Emily decrypted the files with the help of Kara, her trusted analyst. The data revealed experimental protocols combining neurostimulation with targeted protein expression therapies, effectively reprogramming muscle stem cells to regenerate faster and stronger. It was beyond anything she'd seen. But it was unfinished. The neural modulator device existed only in prototype stages, with untested safety profiles and unknown side effects. Musk's internal teams were cautious, keeping the project under wraps. Emily knew that if this technology came to light, it could change the entire landscape of aging research and human performance. Yet, the ethical implications were massive. Was it right to tamper with neural circuits to enhance muscle growth? Would it create new forms of inequality? And what about long-term risks? As she wrestled with the data, her own shoulder pain flared again, reminding her how urgent the problem was. Over the next days, she sought an audience with Musk. The request went through layers of assistance and security until she finally landed a video call with him. His presence was calm but intense. "I assume you've seen the neural modulator files," he began. "We're close, but there's a lot to prove." Emily nodded. "It's promising, but we need to be careful. We don't know the consequences." Musk smiled faintly. "True innovation always carries risk. But the alternative is decline. We can't accept that. We need tools to fight entropy from every angle. The conversation shifted into strategy, how to integrate neuromodulation with Project Reboot, what trials would be necessary, and how to navigate regulatory hurdles. Emily's mind raced. This was the leap she had been waiting for, but also the greatest challenge. She'd need to lead a team of neurologists, bioengineers, ethicists, and data scientists. As the call ended, Musk left her with a simple command: make it safe. Make it scalable. Make it real. Energized but overwhelmed, Emily threw herself into research. Days blurred into nights as she coordinated with specialists and pored over neurological studies of motor control, synaptic plasticity, and stem cell signaling pathways. Meanwhile, her trial participants began reporting subtle improvements: better balance, reduced muscle spasms, increased endurance, but nothing dramatic yet. Then one morning, Grace from Ohio called. Her voice was shaky but exhilarated. "Emily, I can lift my grandkids again. Not just a little, but fully. It's like my muscles remember how to move." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. This was why she fought. The phone call galvanized her to push faster on the neural modulator concept. She proposed a small-scale pilot combining non-invasive brain stimulation with targeted muscle therapy, designed to enhance neural plasticity and muscle repair simultaneously. Musk greenlit the plan but warned, proceed with caution. If anything goes wrong, the backlash will be fierce. The pilot launched with 7 volunteers, each receiving daily neurostimulation sessions paired with Project Reboot's nutritional and exercise regimen. The results astonished the team. Participants showed a 25% average increase in muscle strength in just 4 weeks, accompanied by improved neural coordination tests. MRI scans revealed enhanced activity in motor cortex regions linked to movement control. Emily was thrilled but cautious. These were early days. However, skepticism from the medical community intensified. Critics called the neural approach fringe science, and Gerald published another scathing critique accusing her of playing God. Emily chose not to respond publicly. Instead, she focused on gathering data and refining protocols. But the pressure mounted. Funding debates arose, regulatory boards demanded extensive safety evidence, and public opinion became divided. At the same time, Emily's own health took a hit. A severe flare-up of tendinitis in her shoulder forced her to halt training for 2 weeks, leaving her feeling vulnerable. During that downtime, she reflected deeply on the journey so far, the battles, the breakthroughs, the setbacks. She realized the fight wasn't just physical but mental and emotional. She found solace in Maya's unwavering support, who encouraged her to practice patience and self-care. Emily began meditating and journaling, reconnecting with the core reasons she embarked on this mission. One evening, while reviewing data, she received a text from Musk: "Remember, strength isn't just muscle. It's will. Keep the faith." That message stayed with her through the long nights. As the pilot's 8-week mark approached, the results were undeniable. Neural stimulation enhanced muscle regeneration in ways that exercise and nutrition alone couldn't achieve. The team prepared to publish their findings in a top-tier medical journal, knowing it could redefine aging science. On the day of the press conference, Emily stood in front of reporters and cameras, ready to share the breakthrough. She spoke not as a scientist detached from emotion but as someone who had lived the struggle and emerged stronger. Aging is not an inevitability we must accept silently. It is a process we can influence through innovation, persistence, and care. We've shown that by harnessing the body's own neural circuits alongside advanced therapies, we can restore strength and mobility in ways once thought impossible. This is just the beginning. The applause was thunderous. Yet Emily knew the real work was ahead: scaling access, ensuring equity, and navigating the complex moral landscape. As the event ended, Musk approached her with a grin. "You just dropped the truth bomb on aging. Now let's change the world." Emily smiled, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders but also the lightness of hope. She was no longer just fighting for herself or a group of women. She was fighting for the future of humanity itself. The momentum from the neural modulator breakthrough propelled Emily and her team into uncharted territory. Now with clinical validation in hand, she faced the daunting challenge of scaling the technology beyond the pilot phase and navigating the intricate web of regulatory agencies, ethical boards, and public scrutiny. The project was no longer a laboratory secret or niche trial, it was becoming a global conversation about what it meant to age with dignity, strength, and autonomy. But with greater visibility came greater resistance. Pharmaceutical lobbyists pushed back hard, warning that these new methods threatened established treatments and billions in revenue. Some medical professionals accused the team of oversimplifying complex biological processes, while social media chatter veered into dystopian territory, accusations of designer aging and playing God. Emily found herself in the eye of a storm, forced to defend not only the science but the humanity behind it. She spent hours crafting public statements, appearing on podcasts, and engaging with critics head-on. At the same time, she remained deeply connected to the women whose lives were transforming. She maintained weekly check-ins with the trial participants, listening to their stories, sharing setbacks and victories. Grace from Ohio wrote, "I'm climbing the stairs again, Emily. My knees don't ache like before." Karen sent a video from her backyard, holding weights that once felt impossible to lift. "Thank you for giving me my life back." These moments were the fuel that kept Emily going. But she knew the bigger challenge lay ahead, turning experimental neuromodulation into a safe, affordable, and scalable treatment accessible to millions. The team partnered with engineers at Tesla to miniaturize the stimulation devices, creating sleek wearables that could be worn discreetly throughout the day, adapting stimulation based on real-time biometrics. Data privacy was a major concern, so they built advanced encryption and user controls to ensure participants retained full ownership of their information. Despite these technical triumphs, internal tensions surfaced. Some team members feared rushing could lead to unforeseen side effects. Debates over trial designs, ethical limits, and equitable access became daily battles. Emily found herself mediating between visionary engineers, cautious clinicians, and wary ethicists. It was a test of leadership unlike any she had faced. Meanwhile, her personal life grew more complicated. The relentless pace strained her relationship with Maya and Jason. Late nights and travel meant missed dinners and school events. Maya once said, "Mom, I'm proud of you, but I miss you." Emily felt the guilt like a heavy weight, struggling to balance the urgency of her mission with the needs of her family. One night, after a particularly grueling board meeting, Emily returned home to find Maya waiting up for her. "Why do you push so hard?" Maya asked softly. Emily paused, searching for an answer. "Because I want a world where you don't have to fear losing your strength, your independence. I want to build a future where aging doesn't mean giving up." Maya nodded, eyes shining. "I want that too." That moment renewed Emily's resolve. She knew the fight was bigger than science, it was about love, legacy, and hope. Then came the unexpected crisis. A volunteer in the extended trial experienced an adverse neurological event, sparking a wave of concern across regulatory bodies. The news hit headlines with alarmist headlines questioning the safety of neural modulation therapies. For a moment, the entire project seemed to teeter on the brink of collapse. Emily coordinated with medical experts to investigate. The adverse event was traced to an unrelated medical condition the participant had not disclosed. The protocols were adjusted, safeguards strengthened, and transparency increased. She addressed the public directly in a heartfelt livestream. "Innovation carries risks, but we face greater risks if we do nothing. Our commitment is to safety, honesty, and healing." Slowly, trust rebuilt. Funders recommitted, and regulatory agencies moved to approve controlled rollout in more regions. Emily's vision of integrated, neuromodulated muscle rejuvenation began to take root in rehabilitation centers, elder care facilities, and even athletic training programs. The technology was no longer a secret weapon for the few but a beacon of possibility for many. Throughout this period, Emily continued to evolve, not just as a scientist but as a leader, mother, and advocate. She spoke openly about her struggles with pain, fatigue, and doubt, breaking stigmas around women balancing intense careers with family. She mentored young researchers, especially women, urging them to pursue bold ideas with courage and integrity. One afternoon, standing on the roof of SpaceX's bioengineering hub, gazing at the horizon where Mars missions and human health converged, Emily reflected on how far she had come. From a broken shoulder and shattered doubts to breakthroughs that could redefine aging itself. She thought about the women who inspired her every day. Their resilience, their hope, their refusal to accept limits. And she understood the truth Musk had been trying to teach her all along, that real strength wasn't just in the muscle or the mind but in the courage to keep pushing forward, even when the world tells you to stop. With a deep breath, Emily smiled, ready for the next chapter of the journey, knowing the best was yet to come. The public rollout of the neural modulator technology marked a pivotal moment not just for Emily but for the entire field of aging research. Clinics across the country began incorporating the wearables into rehabilitation programs, and patients reported transformative changes in muscle strength, balance, and overall vitality. News outlets featured stories of seniors reclaiming independence, athletes recovering faster, and caregivers finding renewed hope. Yet, as the technology gained traction, Emily found herself facing a new kind of challenge, navigating the complicated intersection of science, business, and public expectation. The demand for the treatment skyrocketed, but manufacturing capacity was limited. Pricing debates ignited, with some fearing that the technology would become an exclusive luxury rather than a widely accessible solution. Advocacy groups demanded affordable access for underprivileged communities, forcing Emily and Musk to rethink their distribution strategies. In response, they launched partnerships with non-profit organizations and rural health centers, deploying mobile clinics to bring the treatment to underserved populations. Emily spent weeks traveling in an RV retrofitted as a mobile health unit, meeting patients face-to-face, witnessing firsthand the disparities in healthcare access. These experiences fueled her commitment to equity and shaped new policy proposals aimed at ensuring that the technology benefited all layers of society. Meanwhile, scientific questions remained. How long would the benefits last? Were there cumulative effects of prolonged neural stimulation? Emily spearheaded longitudinal studies to monitor participants over years, gathering data to answer these vital questions. The findings were encouraging but complex. Many patients maintained strength gains for years, but some required maintenance sessions to sustain neural plasticity. Personalized protocols became a focus, with AI algorithms adapting treatments based on individual responses. The evolving science drew attention from international researchers eager to collaborate. Emily fostered global partnerships, facilitating data sharing and cross-cultural studies that enriched the understanding of aging biology. Yet the increased visibility also attracted detractors. Conspiracy theories surfaced claiming the technology was a form of mind control or a way for elites to extend lifespan unfairly. Emily found herself repeatedly addressing misinformation in public forums, emphasizing transparency and the ethical framework guiding their work. Throughout these challenges, Maya's presence remained a grounding force. Now a teenager, Maya balanced school and social life while supporting her mother's mission. Their conversations deepened, touching on topics of identity, purpose, and the future of human health. One afternoon, Maya confided, "Mom, sometimes I worry about what happens if this technology changes what it means to be human." Emily smiled gently. Change can be scary, but it's also an opportunity to redefine ourselves, to be stronger, kinder, more resilient. They talked long into the evening about legacy and hope, solidifying their bond. At home, Jason took on more responsibilities, ensuring that family life stayed intact amid the whirlwind. Emily learned to delegate more, trusting her team and leaning on loved ones. Professionally, she emerged as a leader who combined scientific rigor with empathy and vision. She published groundbreaking papers, appeared at international conferences, and was invited to advise government agencies on aging policies. Yet, despite all the acclaim, she never lost sight of the individuals whose lives she sought to improve. Each patient's progress was a story, a testament to human resilience. During a visit to a senior center in Detroit, she met an 82-year-old man named Harold who had regained enough muscle strength to paint again, his lifelong passion. "You gave me more than strength," Harold told her. "You gave me back my purpose." Those words echoed in her mind as she prepared for the next big step. Integrating neural modulation with emerging gene therapies targeting mitochondrial function, the cell's powerhouses that decline with age. This hybrid approach promised to address muscle loss from multiple angles, but it also introduced new scientific and ethical complexities. Could combining these cutting-edge interventions amplify risks? How would society regulate such potent technologies? Emily convened a diverse panel of experts, including ethicists, patient advocates, and policymakers, to guide the development. The discussions were intense, sometimes contentious, but ultimately productive. Emily believed that transparency and inclusivity were essential to responsible innovation. As the research progressed, her own health continued to improve. The shoulder injury healed fully, and with the neural modulator regimen, her stamina and muscle tone surpassed anything she had experienced in years. This personal victory was bittersweet, reminding her of the stakes involved, not just for herself but for everyone aging in a world that often ignored their needs. The story of Project Reboot had transformed from a personal crusade into a movement challenging societal perceptions of aging and capability. Emily became a symbol of hope and change, but also a reminder that progress required patience, humility, and unyielding dedication. As she stood once more on the rooftop overlooking the sprawling SpaceX campus, she contemplated the path ahead. The journey was far from over. There would be setbacks, debates, and surprises, but with every step forward, humanity inched closer to rewriting the narrative of aging. And Emily knew one thing for sure: the future belonged not to those who accepted limits, but to those brave enough to push beyond them. As Project Reboot evolved, Emily found herself increasingly drawn into the complex ethical debates swirling around the emerging hybrid therapies that combined neural modulation with gene editing techniques aimed at mitochondrial rejuvenation. The promise was profound, not just repairing muscles and nerves but restoring the very cellular energy engines that powered every movement, potentially reversing age-related decline at its root. But with this promise came profound questions. Could tampering with the mitochondria lead to unintended consequences? Would these interventions be safe for the long term? And what about the broader societal implications? Who would have access to such potentially transformative treatments, and how would that reshape inequalities already present in healthcare? To tackle these questions, Emily organized an international symposium bringing together scientists, ethicists, patient advocates, regulators, and policymakers. The conversations were intense and sometimes contentious. Some feared the technology could create a biological elite, exacerbating divides. Others worried about the risks of gene editing, especially in older adults with complex health backgrounds. Emily listened carefully, striving to balance optimism with caution. She shared her own journey, emphasizing the human stories behind the science: women reclaiming strength to play with grandchildren, men finding joy in movement long lost to them. Her personal narrative grounded the discussions in tangible hope rather than abstract theory. Meanwhile, the science progressed rapidly. Collaborations with CRISPR specialists led to refined protocols that precisely targeted mitochondrial DNA without affecting other genes. Preclinical trials showed improved muscle endurance and decreased fatigue in aged animal models. Excitement within Emily's team was palpable, but so was the pressure to move deliberately. Regulatory agencies issued new guidelines reflecting the evolving landscape of gene therapies, emphasizing patient safety and rigorous monitoring. Emily's team adapted quickly, designing multi-phase trials that incorporated real-time data tracking, side effect monitoring, and ethical oversight. Back at home, the balance between work and family remained a daily challenge. Maya, now deeply interested in bioethics herself, engaged in thoughtful debates with her mother, sometimes questioning the implications of altering human biology so fundamentally. Their dialogues were candid and enriching, highlighting the generational perspectives on technology and humanity. One evening, Maya asked, "Mom, what if the future you're building changes who we are? What if strength isn't just physical but something more?" Emily smiled and replied, "Then we'll keep learning together. Strength is more than muscle. It's resilience, love, and the courage to face the unknown." These conversations inspired Emily to incorporate patient voices more deeply into Project Reboot's design and outreach. She launched a community advisory board composed of trial participants, caregivers, and advocates who helped shape communication strategies, trial protocols, and access plans. Their input ensured that the technology remained grounded in real needs and values. As the hybrid therapy trials commenced, early participants reported remarkable improvements in energy levels and muscle function. Imaging studies showed enhanced mitochondrial activity alongside neural regeneration, suggesting a synergistic effect. The data was compelling but required careful interpretation and peer review. The medical community's response was cautiously optimistic, with several leading journals expressing interest in publishing the results. However, public debates about the ethics of gene editing in aging persisted. Emily took to international media platforms to advocate for responsible innovation, transparency, and inclusive dialogue. She emphasized that the goal was to extend healthy years, not to create immortality or unnatural enhancements. "Our mission," she explained, "is to empower people to live fuller lives, to preserve dignity and independence as they age." Her message resonated widely, sparking a global conversation about aging, technology, and humanity's future. Meanwhile, at SpaceX's bioengineering labs, teams worked tirelessly to refine the wearable devices, integrating AI-driven feedback systems that adapted neural stimulation protocols in real time based on mitochondrial signals and muscle performance metrics. These advances promised personalized therapies tuned to each individual's unique biology and lifestyle. Emily felt a surge of pride and responsibility as she oversaw this convergence of cutting-edge technology and compassionate care. Yet, amid the triumphs, setbacks emerged. Some participants experienced unexpected immune responses, prompting swift investigation and protocol adjustments. Transparency remained paramount, with findings shared openly and ethical safeguards strengthened. Emily also wrestled privately with her own physical limits. Years of relentless work and her own age-related challenges required new self-care strategies. She leaned into mindfulness practices, physical therapy, and the support of her family and team. This personal journey reinforced her belief that aging was multifaceted, involving body, mind, and spirit. As the chapter of hybrid therapies unfolded, Emily realized that Project Reboot was more than a scientific quest. It was a movement redefining how society perceives aging and human potential. It challenged fears and biases, inviting a future where decline was not accepted passively but confronted actively and ethically. Standing on the rooftop once again, looking at the stars, Emily felt connected to a continuum of innovators and dreamers. The path ahead remained uncertain, but the promise of strength, resilience, and hope illuminated every step. And as always, she held close the faces and stories of those she fought for, knowing that every breakthrough carried the power to transform not just bodies, but lives. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As the hybrid therapies advanced into later-stage clinical trials, Emily and her team encountered a new frontier of challenges that tested their scientific resolve and ethical compass. The initial promising results, showing enhanced muscle regeneration and mitochondrial function, generated excitement but also ushered in a wave of scrutiny from regulatory bodies and bioethics committees worldwide. The complexity of combining neural modulation with gene editing meant there was no precedent for risk assessment or long-term outcome data, prompting calls for cautious, transparent approaches. Emily embraced this scrutiny, knowing that trust would be won not only by breakthroughs but by rigorous science and open dialogue. She spearheaded the creation of an international oversight consortium, bringing together experts across disciplines to review protocols, monitor adverse events, and advise on patient selection criteria. This consortium emphasized patient safety above all, while fostering innovation through shared data and collective problem-solving. On the patient front, stories of transformation continued to inspire. Testimonials from individuals like Harold, now in his mid-80s, whose regained ability to paint had blossomed into renewed social engagement, became emblematic of what was possible. In urban centers and rural communities alike, people reported returning to activities they thought lost forever: gardening, dancing, hiking. These human stories galvanized support and reinforced the importance of accessibility and equity. However, Emily remained acutely aware that technological advances alone could not solve systemic healthcare disparities. To address this, she championed policy initiatives advocating for insurance coverage, government subsidies, and community-based outreach programs to ensure broad availability of the therapies. Simultaneously, the social dimensions of aging became a focal point for Emily's advocacy. She collaborated with sociologists and psychologists to develop holistic care models that integrated physical treatments with mental health support, social connection, and purpose-driven activities. This comprehensive approach recognized that aging involved more than biology; it encompassed identity, relationships, and meaning. Amid these professional milestones, Emily's relationship with Maya deepened in profound ways. Maya, now a college student studying bioethics, frequently joined Emily in symposiums and public discussions, providing a youthful perspective that enriched the conversation. Their dialogues explored the evolving definitions of humanity in an era of biological enhancement, the balance between intervention and acceptance, and the responsibilities of scientists to society. One poignant moment came when Maya challenged Emily: "How do we ensure that the technology we create uplifts everyone, not just the privileged few?" Emily's response reflected her core belief. By listening, collaborating, and centering humanity in every decision we make. As the hybrid therapies moved closer to regulatory approval, a new set of challenges emerged in manufacturing and distribution. Scaling up production of the gene-editing components required partnerships with biotech firms capable of maintaining quality and safety at scale. The neural modulation devices evolved into smart wearables integrated with cloud-based AI analytics, raising questions about data security and user privacy. Emily and Musk worked closely with cybersecurity experts to develop robust protections and transparent user agreements, emphasizing patient control over their own biological data. Public perception also demanded ongoing attention. Despite extensive education campaigns, misinformation and fear circulated about gene editing technologies, sometimes fueled by sensational media. Emily became a frequent voice in public forums, podcasts, and social media, advocating for nuanced understanding and dispelling myths. She emphasized the ethical frameworks guiding their work and the tangible benefits for aging populations. The journey was not without personal cost. The relentless pace and public spotlight taxed Emily's physical and emotional reserves. She grappled with moments of doubt and fatigue but drew strength from the community of patients, colleagues, and family around her. Jason's unwavering support and Maya's growing maturity provided an anchor in the whirlwind. Reflecting on the path from a shoulder injury that once seemed like a personal setback to a groundbreaking therapeutic movement, Emily recognized the intertwined nature of struggle and progress. In a special symposium marking a major milestone for Project Reboot, Emily delivered a keynote speech that captured the essence of the journey. "We stand at the cusp of redefining what it means to age, not as a process of inevitable decline but as an opportunity for renewal, resilience, and hope. Our work is not just about science, it's about humanity." The speech resonated globally, inspiring a new generation of researchers, patients, and advocates. As she looked ahead, Emily remained committed to pushing boundaries with humility, ensuring that every advancement honored the dignity and complexity of human life. The story of aging was being rewritten, and with each breakthrough, a new chapter of possibility unfolded, one where strength, vitality, and purpose could flourish at any age. With determination and hope, Emily prepared to lead Project Reboot into this promising future, knowing the best was yet to come. The approval of the hybrid therapy marked a watershed moment for Emily and everyone involved in Project Reboot. After years of meticulous research, trials, and overcoming both scientific and social hurdles, the technology was poised to enter mainstream clinical use. Clinics across the nation began integrating the treatment into standard care for age-related muscle loss and neurological decline. Demand surged as word spread of the transformative effects on patient strength, mobility, and overall quality of life. Emily was inundated with invitations to speak at medical conferences, policy forums, and public events, becoming a recognized leader not only in bioengineering but in the broader movement to redefine aging. Yet, with success came new complexities. The rapid adoption of the technology raised questions about training practitioners, ensuring consistent quality of care, and monitoring long-term outcomes beyond clinical trials. Emily and her team worked tirelessly to develop comprehensive guidelines, certification programs, and data tracking systems to support providers and patients alike. One unexpected challenge was the emotional impact on patients who experienced profound improvements yet faced the psychological adjustments of regaining abilities lost for years. To address this, Emily collaborated with psychologists to create support networks and counseling services, recognizing that healing involved mind as well as body. Meanwhile, the healthcare industry began to shift, with insurers negotiating coverage policies and governments updating regulatory frameworks to accommodate this new category of therapies. Emily advocated passionately for equitable access, emphasizing that aging should not be a privilege but a right to live fully and healthily. On a personal level, Emily's balance of work and family life remained a delicate dance. Maya, now approaching adulthood, took an active role in community outreach for Project Reboot, blending her studies in bioethics with hands-on advocacy. Their mother-daughter partnership became a symbol of intergenerational collaboration, blending science, ethics, and humanity. Jason continued to provide steady support, managing family life so Emily could focus when needed but always reminding her to rest and recharge. As the therapy expanded globally, Emily coordinated with international teams to adapt protocols to diverse populations and healthcare systems. Cultural perspectives on aging and medical intervention varied widely, presenting challenges but also enriching the project's scope. She embraced these differences as opportunities for learning and inclusion. Despite the overwhelming momentum, setbacks surfaced. A small percentage of patients experienced side effects requiring modifications in treatment, prompting ongoing research into personalized medicine approaches. Emily's team refined algorithms to tailor neural stimulation and gene editing doses based on individual genetics, health history, and lifestyle, pushing the boundaries of precision medicine. Media scrutiny intensified as the technology became headline news, sometimes sensationalized as a fountain of youth or human enhancement. Emily tackled misinformation head-on, emphasizing the therapy's goal to restore natural function and independence, not to create superhumans or extend life indefinitely. She engaged with patient communities, listening and responding to concerns, fostering trust through transparency. One pivotal moment came during a televised debate when a skeptical commentator questioned the ethical implications of altering human biology. Emily responded calmly and thoughtfully, "We are not changing who we are restoring what aging takes away. It's about dignity, choice, and empowerment." The response sparked widespread reflection and furthered constructive dialogue. Amid these public challenges, Emily never lost sight of the individual lives behind the science. She continued regular visits to rehabilitation centers and patient homes, hearing stories that reaffirmed her mission. From a former dancer now able to move gracefully again to a retired teacher who returned to hiking trails, these stories fueled her passion. Looking back on the journey from a debilitating injury to leading a global health revolution, Emily felt a deep sense of gratitude and humility. The path was marked by obstacles and triumphs, but always by the relentless human spirit striving to overcome limits. As she prepared for the next phase, integrating artificial intelligence to optimize treatments and enhance patient engagement, Emily embraced the challenge with renewed energy. The future held unknowns, but also boundless possibilities. Through perseverance, empathy, and innovation, she was helping to reshape the story of aging from decline to renewal. And she knew that the greatest breakthroughs were yet to come. The integration of artificial intelligence into Project Reboot's hybrid therapies marked an ambitious leap forward, promising to revolutionize not only the science but also the way care was delivered to aging populations. Emily and her team collaborated with AI experts to develop sophisticated algorithms capable of analyzing vast amounts of patient data in real time, adapting neural stimulation and gene editing doses dynamically to optimize outcomes. This personalized approach acknowledged the uniqueness of each individual's biology, lifestyle, and response to treatment, setting a new standard for precision medicine. The AI systems monitored biomarkers from wearable devices, muscle function tests, and genetic profiles, continuously learning and refining protocols to maximize strength restoration while minimizing side effects. Early pilot programs showed remarkable improvements compared to fixed-dose treatments, igniting excitement across the medical community. Yet, the introduction of AI also brought fresh challenges. Data privacy became a paramount concern as sensitive biological and personal information was collected and processed. Emily championed the development of stringent cybersecurity measures and transparent data governance policies to ensure patient control over their information. She advocated for ethical AI design principles that prioritized human dignity and autonomy over automation. The team also faced the technical challenge of integrating AI systems seamlessly with existing medical devices and clinical workflows. They worked closely with clinicians to create user-friendly interfaces that provided actionable insights without overwhelming healthcare providers. Training programs were developed to equip practitioners with the skills needed to interpret AI-generated recommendations and communicate effectively with patients. Meanwhile, public perception of AI in healthcare was mixed, ranging from hopeful anticipation to skepticism and fear of dehumanization. Emily addressed these concerns openly in public forums, emphasizing that AI was a tool to augment, not replace, human judgment and compassion. She shared stories of how AI enabled earlier detection of treatment adjustments, preventing adverse events and improving patient quality of life. On a personal level, Emily found renewed motivation in the synergy of technology and empathy. Her relationship with Maya deepened as they discussed the ethical dimensions of AI, privacy, and what it meant to be human in an age of rapid innovation. Maya's insights as a young bioethicist enriched Emily's approach, reminding her to consider diverse perspectives and societal implications. Together, they participated in panels and educational outreach, fostering informed public dialogue. At the clinical level, patients reported feeling more engaged and empowered as AI systems provided personalized feedback and progress tracking through intuitive apps. This sense of agency contributed to improved adherence and satisfaction. The integration of AI also expanded access by enabling remote monitoring and telemedicine consultations, particularly benefiting patients in rural or underserved areas. As Project Reboot scaled, Emily navigated the logistical complexities of expanding manufacturing of AI-enabled devices and gene editing components. Collaborations with tech companies, biotech firms, and healthcare providers created an ecosystem dedicated to continuous innovation and quality assurance. Regulatory bodies adapted frameworks to accommodate AI-driven therapies, emphasizing transparency, validation, and ongoing oversight. Despite the rapid progress, Emily remained vigilant against complacency. She fostered a culture of continuous learning and ethical reflection within her team, encouraging open discussion of risks, limitations, and unintended consequences. The story of Project Reboot became not only about extending physical strength but also about nurturing trust, responsibility, and human connection in the face of transformative technology. In a keynote speech at an international summit, Emily articulated this vision: technology alone cannot solve the challenges of aging. It is our humanity, our values, empathy, and commitment to justice, that will shape the future we build. AI is a powerful ally, but it must serve us, not replace us. The speech resonated widely, inspiring collaborations across disciplines and sectors. As the AI-enhanced therapies continued to improve patient outcomes, Emily reflected on how far the journey had come. From a personal injury and a simple neural stimulator to a complex, ethical, and patient-centered health revolution. The challenges ahead remained significant, but the foundation was strong, built on science, compassion, and collaboration. The future of aging was no longer a story of decline but of possibility, resilience, and hope. With determination and humility, Emily prepared to lead Project Reboot into this new era, confident that the best chapters were still unwritten. The launch of AI-enhanced hybrid therapies opened new horizons for Project Reboot, but Emily soon realized that the success of cutting-edge science hinged equally on the human stories intertwined with it. As more patients embraced the treatments, she made a deliberate effort to deepen patient engagement beyond clinical metrics. She introduced programs that invited participants to share their journeys through storytelling workshops, peer support groups, and digital platforms where they could connect and inspire one another. These narratives brought the data to life, revealing the nuanced emotional landscapes behind the regained strength, the fears confronted, and the hopes rekindled. Emily found these stories both humbling and motivating, fueling her commitment to holistic healing. One such story was Maria's, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio who had struggled with muscle weakness and isolation for years. After receiving the hybrid therapy, Maria regained enough strength to walk her daughter down the aisle at her wedding, an event she feared she would never witness. Maria's gratitude echoed in a heartfelt message that Emily shared with her team: "This treatment gave me back my life and my dignity." Such testimonials became a cornerstone of Project Reboot's public outreach, humanizing the science and bridging the gap between innovation and everyday lives. Recognizing the psychological dimension of aging and recovery, Emily expanded collaborations with mental health professionals. Integrating counseling and mindfulness training alongside physical therapies, Project Reboot addressed anxiety, depression, and identity shifts that often accompanied aging and chronic illness. This multidisciplinary approach reflected Emily's belief that true strength encompassed body and mind. As the therapy's availability grew, issues of access and equity became increasingly urgent. Emily lobbied for policy reforms to subsidize treatments for underserved communities and partnered with nonprofit organizations to offer outreach clinics in rural and economically disadvantaged areas. These efforts aimed to dismantle barriers and ensure that no one was left behind in the quest for vitality. The social impact rippled beyond individual patients. Communities reported renewed intergenerational interactions as elders regained mobility and participation in family and civic life. Local support groups formed, fostering connections and shared resilience. These cultural shifts reinforced Emily's vision of aging as a communal experience rather than isolated decline. At the same time, ethical considerations remained at the forefront. Emily facilitated ongoing forums involving patients, ethicists, clinicians, and policymakers to navigate emerging dilemmas such as consent, long-term monitoring, and the potential for enhancement beyond restoration. She emphasized humility and adaptability, acknowledging that the journey was ongoing and that responsible innovation required listening to diverse voices. Within her personal life, Emily continued to nurture the bonds with Maya and Jason, recognizing that their support was integral to her work's success. Maya's evolving career in bioethics brought fresh perspectives that enriched Project Reboot's governance, while Jason's steadiness provided balance amid the whirlwind of public attention. Together, they celebrated milestones and weathered setbacks, embodying the resilience they championed. Scientific advances also pushed boundaries. New AI models incorporated emotional and behavioral data to tailor therapies not only to physical but psychological states, enhancing patient engagement and well-being. Explorations into microbiome interactions suggested additional pathways to optimize muscle health and aging. These developments signaled an expanding horizon of integrated medicine. Public education campaigns ramped up, focusing on demystifying gene editing and AI, promoting informed consent, and addressing fears rooted in misinformation. Emily's leadership in transparent communication helped build public trust and encouraged informed dialogue. Media coverage highlighted both successes and ongoing challenges, painting a realistic yet hopeful picture of the future. International collaborations flourished as Project Reboot's framework inspired similar initiatives worldwide. Cultural adaptations respected local values and healthcare structures, reflecting a global commitment to aging with dignity. Emily's vision of an inclusive, patient-centered revolution in aging resonated across continents. Reflecting on the journey, Emily often returned to a core insight, that science's greatest power lay in its capacity to serve humanity holistically. The fusion of technology, ethics, and community created a dynamic synergy that transcended traditional biomedical models. This philosophy guided every decision and innovation. As the chapter of expanding access and community unfolded, Emily recognized that Project Reboot was not just a medical breakthrough but a social movement redefining aging itself. The story was no longer about inevitable decline but about renewal, connection, and possibility. Standing once again on the rooftop under the stars, Emily felt a profound sense of purpose and hope. The road ahead was long and complex, but the foundations were strong, built on the trust and courage of patients, families, and communities. With every breakthrough and every shared story, the future of aging shone brighter. And Emily knew that this was only the beginning. The momentum behind Project Reboot continued to build, yet Emily recognized that sustaining long-term success required addressing deeper societal narratives about aging and vitality. Despite scientific breakthroughs and improved patient outcomes, many cultural beliefs still framed aging as a period of inevitable loss and disengagement. Determined to challenge these perceptions, Emily expanded her efforts beyond the lab and clinic into public discourse, education, and policy advocacy. She collaborated with artists, writers, and community leaders to craft narratives that celebrated resilience, intergenerational connection, and the ongoing potential for growth throughout life. One influential initiative was a multimedia campaign titled, "Strength in Every Age," which showcased stories of elders who had reclaimed agency, creativity, and purpose thanks to the hybrid therapies and community support. These stories appeared in documentaries, podcasts, exhibitions, and social media platforms, sparking conversations nationwide. Schools integrated modules on aging, biology, and ethics, fostering early awareness and empathy among younger generations. Emily also worked with legislators to promote policies that supported elder engagement in workforce, education, and civic life, framing aging as a resource rather than a burden. However, the cultural shift was gradual and met with resistance. Deeply ingrained stereotypes and systemic barriers persisted, requiring sustained effort and coalition building. Emily joined forces with advocacy groups, healthcare providers, and faith organizations to foster inclusive dialogues that bridge generational divides. At the same time, the scientific frontier pressed onward. Project Reboot's team explored combining hybrid therapies with regenerative techniques targeting other tissues affected by aging, such as bone, cartilage, and neural networks beyond motor control. This expanded vision sought to create comprehensive rejuvenation platforms addressing the multifaceted nature of aging. Cutting-edge research into epigenetic reprogramming and senescent cell clearance showed promising synergies with existing therapies. The complexity of these combined approaches required robust data integration and adaptive AI models, which Emily's team refined continuously. Clinical trials grew more sophisticated, incorporating multidimensional endpoints that captured physical, cognitive, emotional, and social well-being. Regulatory agencies adapted to these innovations by fostering flexible frameworks and collaborative review processes. Emily embraced the challenges of balancing innovation with safety and ethics, leading transparent discussions with stakeholders. On a personal front, Emily found renewed balance by cultivating mindfulness practices and fostering deeper connections with loved ones. Maya's maturation as a bioethicist and community organizer inspired Emily, reminding her of the power of values-driven leadership. Jason's unwavering support and humor provided a grounding presence amid the complexities of their work. Together, They navigated the highs and lows, embodying the resilience that Project Reboot sought to cultivate in patients and society alike. As Project Reboot's influence extended internationally, Emily participated in global summits focused on aging, health equity, and innovation. Cross-cultural collaborations enriched the project's approaches, respecting diverse traditions and needs while sharing universal goals of dignity and vitality. These global partnerships catalyzed policy harmonization and resource sharing, accelerating progress worldwide. Despite the many accomplishments, Emily remained mindful of the unpredictable nature of scientific discovery and societal change. She fostered a culture of humility, curiosity, and adaptability within her team, encouraging continuous learning and ethical reflection. Emily's vision transcended technology alone. It was a call to reimagine aging as a dynamic, meaningful stage of life enriched by connection, creativity, and contribution. In a widely praised TED Talk, Emily shared this philosophy: aging is not a problem to be solved but a journey to be honored. When we combine science with empathy, technology with humanity, we open new paths to thrive at every age. The talk inspired a wave of new initiatives, partnerships, and public engagement. Looking ahead, Emily prepared to mentor emerging leaders in aging research and advocacy, nurturing a diverse next generation committed to advancing the cause. She remained driven by the belief that collective effort, spanning science, culture, policy, and community, was essential to transforming the experience of aging for all. The narrative of Project Reboot was now woven into a broader tapestry of social progress and human flourishing. As Emily gazed toward the future, she felt both the weight and exhilaration of responsibility. The path was complex and ongoing, but the foundations laid promised a future where aging was met with strength, hope, and grace. The story she helped write was one of transformation, not just of bodies but of minds and societies. And in that story lay the true power to change lives for generations to come. As Project Reboot entered its next phase, Emily faced the dual challenge of sustaining innovation while preparing for its long-term impact on society. The therapies had begun to redefine aging, but with profound success came complex questions about how healthcare systems, families, and individuals would adapt to these new possibilities. Emily convened a multidisciplinary advisory board composed of scientists, ethicists, policymakers, patient advocates, and futurists to explore scenarios and prepare frameworks that would guide responsible stewardship of the technology. The discussions ranged from equitable distribution and affordability to the social implications of extended vitality. One pressing issue was the potential strain on social services and retirement systems as people regained functional independence but lived longer active lives. Policymakers needed data-driven insights to design sustainable models for pensions, healthcare funding, and eldercare infrastructure. Emily's team partnered with economists and sociologists to generate projections and policy briefs that informed legislative debates. Simultaneously, research expanded into complementary areas such as nutrition, exercise science, and mental health interventions that could synergize with the hybrid therapies for holistic aging wellness. Emily championed integrative health approaches that acknowledged the interplay between biology, behavior, and environment. Community pilot programs demonstrated that combining personalized treatments with lifestyle coaching, social engagement, and mental health support led to superior outcomes. These insights fueled public health campaigns encouraging proactive aging strategies alongside medical innovation. Amid these systemic efforts, Emily remained deeply connected to the individual human stories that gave meaning to her work. She continued visits to clinics, listening to patients describe how renewed strength and vitality transformed their relationships, sense of purpose, and daily experiences. One patient, Robert, a former carpenter, shared how the therapy enabled him to teach his grandchildren woodworking, a dream rekindled after years of physical decline. Such moments reinforced Emily's conviction that science was a means to restore not only bodies but life itself. On the technological frontier, the integration of virtual reality and augmented reality tools began enhancing rehabilitation and patient engagement. Patients could participate in immersive exercises that stimulated muscle function and cognitive health in motivating environments. AI systems adapted these experiences dynamically based on real-time feedback, making therapy both effective and enjoyable. Emily's team collaborated with game designers and psychologists to optimize these interventions. As the public embraced these innovations, education and training for healthcare providers became paramount. Emily oversaw the development of certification programs and continuing education modules to ensure practitioners were equipped to deliver complex, multidisciplinary care. She also advocated for workforce diversity, recognizing that cultural competence and empathy were essential in serving aging populations. The media spotlight on Project Reboot intensified, with both praise and scrutiny. Emily engaged openly with journalists, emphasizing transparency about benefits, limitations, and ongoing research. She used social media platforms to communicate directly with patients and the public, fostering trust and accessibility. Despite the pressures, Emily maintained her personal rituals of reflection and connection with family. Maya's career flourished, and their conversations continued to deepen, exploring philosophical questions about technology, identity, and the meaning of life in an era of unprecedented change. Jason's humor and steadfast support remained a pillar of strength. Together, they navigated the challenges and celebrated the victories. Looking toward the future, Emily envisioned expanding Project Reboot's principles to other age-related conditions beyond muscle loss, including cognitive decline, sensory impairments, and chronic inflammation. The ambition was to create a comprehensive aging platform that integrated cutting-edge science with compassionate care. This vision inspired new partnerships with biotech startups, academic institutions, and patient organizations. Throughout this journey, Emily's core message remained clear. Aging was not a fate to fear but a phase to embrace with dignity, resilience, and hope. Her leadership exemplified the fusion of visionary science with heartfelt humanity. In a landmark address at the World Health Assembly, Emily called on global leaders to commit to policies and investments that would ensure the benefits of aging science were shared equitably and ethically. Her words resonated across nations and sectors, igniting momentum for international collaboration. As Chapter 14 closed, Emily stood poised on the threshold of a new era, one where the boundaries of aging were redefined not just by technology but by collective will and compassion. The story was far from over. It was an ongoing evolution shaped by the choices of individuals, communities, and societies. And Emily was determined to lead with courage, wisdom, and an unwavering belief in the power of human potential. The culmination of Project Reboot represented more than just a scientific milestone. It marked a profound cultural and philosophical shift in how humanity understood aging, strength, and the very essence of life itself. Emily reflected on the journey from its uncertain beginnings, her own injury, the spark of inspiration from Elon Musk's candid revelations about muscle loss and aging, to the expansive, patient-centered revolution that Project Reboot had become. The integration of hybrid therapies, AI-driven personalization, ethical frameworks, and community empowerment had not only restored muscle function but also restored hope, dignity, and purpose to countless lives. Yet Emily knew that the true legacy of the project lay beyond technology and medicine. It was in the human stories, the relationships rebuilt, and the societal narratives transformed. In the months leading up to the global launch of Project Reboot's next-generation therapies, Emily dedicated herself to synthesizing the lessons learned into a manifesto, a guiding document to inspire ongoing innovation grounded in empathy, equity, and sustainability. She gathered input from patients, clinicians, ethicists, and community leaders to craft principles that would guide the future of aging science and care. The manifesto emphasized that extending physical vitality must always respect individual autonomy, cultural diversity, and environmental responsibility. It called for inclusive access to breakthroughs regardless of socioeconomic status and prioritized transparency and trust. Emily shared this manifesto in public forums and international summits, rallying support across disciplines and borders. She envisioned a future where aging was embraced as a dynamic chapter of growth and contribution rather than decline. Personal reflections became an integral part of her leadership. Emily often revisited the question that had opened this entire journey: what if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? She realized that the answer lay in building networks of care, community, and connection, pillars that sustained individuals through vulnerability and empowered them to reclaim their strength. The relationship with Maya blossomed into a partnership that balanced scientific rigor with ethical stewardship and social advocacy. Together, they launched initiatives to educate young leaders on the intersection of biotechnology, ethics, and human rights, ensuring that future generations would carry forward this holistic vision. Jason's presence remained a constant source of grounding and joy, reminding Emily of the importance of laughter and balance amid ambition. At the global scale, Project Reboot inspired new paradigms in healthcare delivery. Systems adapted to emphasize preventive care, personalized medicine, and integration of technology with human touch. Governments invested in infrastructure that supported active aging communities and lifelong learning. Social policies evolved to value elder contributions, from mentorship programs to civic engagement, fostering inclusive societies. The media landscape shifted as well, with narratives highlighting resilience and intergenerational solidarity rather than decline and dependency. Public attitudes transformed, creating fertile ground for continued scientific and social progress. Amid this transformation, Emily confronted the limits and responsibilities of innovation. She recognized that technology alone could not solve the existential challenges of mortality, meaning, and identity. Therefore, she championed interdisciplinary dialogue involving philosophy, spirituality, and the arts, enriching the discourse on what it means to age well in a rapidly changing world. One poignant moment came when Emily visited a patient storytelling festival where elders shared their journeys not just of physical recovery but of emotional growth, reconciliation, and legacy building. These stories illuminated the profound interplay between body, mind, and spirit that science alone could not capture. As Project Reboot entered the public consciousness as a beacon of hope and possibility, Emily's leadership style evolved from that of a pioneering scientist to a visionary elder statesperson of aging science. She mentored a diverse cadre of leaders worldwide, emphasizing values of humility, empathy, and collaboration. She continued to push the boundaries of science while nurturing the soul of the movement. In her closing remarks at the World Aging Forum, Emily encapsulated the essence of their collective journey. We have learned that aging is not a problem to fix but a story to live, a story rich with challenge, change, and profound beauty. By embracing science, ethics, and community, we open doors to lives of strength, connection, and meaning at every stage. This is the truth bomb we must share and live. As the story closed, readers were left with a clear, inspiring message: life is full of surprises, but love, resilience, and innovation will always lead the way. The narrative of Elon Musk's blunt insights about aging had ignited a revolution, but the heart of that revolution was human, a testament to courage, hope, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Emily's journey from personal struggle to global impact embodied this truth, inviting all to reconsider what aging could be, not an end, but a new beginning. If you want, I can help summarize the entire story or create additional materials like discussion questions, character profiles, or expert commentary. With Project Reboot firmly established as a transformative force in aging science, Emily found herself facing the next frontier: how to sustain the momentum of change in a world that constantly evolves. She understood that science could provide tools, but it was culture, education, and ongoing human connection that would ensure these breakthroughs became integrated into everyday life. To this end, Emily launched the Global Aging Innovation Network, a coalition of researchers, clinicians, educators, policymakers, and community advocates dedicated to fostering collaboration and shared learning across borders and disciplines. The network's mission was to democratize access to the latest advances, promote culturally sensitive approaches, and accelerate implementation in diverse settings. Emily believed that aging was a universal experience, yet its challenges and opportunities were deeply shaped by context. She was determined that no community would be left behind in this new era of vitality. Central to the network's strategy was empowering local leaders and grassroots organizations. Emily invested in training programs that equipped them with knowledge and tools to adapt hybrid therapies and integrative care models to their unique environments. By fostering bottom-up innovation alongside top-down scientific leadership, the movement gained resilience and relevance. Digital platforms played a crucial role, enabling real-time data sharing, virtual conferences, and patient engagement across continents. This interconnected ecosystem fostered a global dialogue that enriched understanding and fostered empathy. At the same time, Emily championed the next wave of scientific exploration, pushing boundaries into uncharted territories of cellular rejuvenation, neuroplasticity, and metabolic optimization. Interdisciplinary teams leveraged advances in quantum biology, bioinformatics, and AI to unravel the complex biological networks underlying aging. These discoveries hinted at future therapies that could further enhance not only muscle function but also cognitive resilience, immune health, and emotional well-being. Yet Emily never lost sight of the human element. She continued to emphasize that technology was a means, not an end, a tool to support dignity, autonomy, and meaningful connection. In collaboration with artists and storytellers, the Global Aging Innovation Network curated exhibitions, performances, and oral histories that celebrated the rich tapestry of aging experiences. These cultural projects bridged generations and backgrounds, fostering mutual respect and shared purpose. On the policy front, Emily advocated for global frameworks that balanced innovation with equity and ethics. She worked with international organizations to develop guidelines ensuring safe, ethical deployment of emerging therapies, protecting vulnerable populations while promoting scientific advancement. This included data privacy safeguards, informed consent protocols, and mechanisms for community oversight. Education remained a cornerstone. Emily partnered with universities and online platforms to create lifelong learning curricula, blending science, ethics, and practical skills to prepare individuals for active aging. These programs emphasized resilience, adaptability, and creativity, equipping people to navigate the changing landscape of health and society. Amid these vast initiatives, Emily treasured the personal stories that fueled her passion. She continued to visit clinics and communities, listening to patients recount their journeys of transformation. These narratives served as reminders that behind every data point was a human life full of hopes, struggles, and triumphs. One memorable encounter was with a group of elders in a remote village who had adopted the hybrid therapies alongside traditional healing practices. Their stories revealed a profound synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science, inspiring Emily to explore integrative approaches that honored diverse knowledge systems. As the movement matured, Emily reflected on the broader philosophical questions raised by extending vitality and reshaping aging. She engaged with thinkers from various traditions to explore the meaning of mortality, identity, and legacy in this new context. These conversations enriched her vision and deepened her appreciation for the complexity of human life. Looking ahead, Emily saw the potential for Project Reboot and the Global Aging Innovation Network to inspire a new global ethic, one that recognized aging as a shared journey of growth, connection, and contribution. She believed that by weaving together science, culture, policy, and community, humanity could build societies where every stage of life was valued and supported. As she stood on the rooftop overlooking the city skyline once again, Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude and hope. The path was still long, and challenges remained, but the foundation was strong. The truth bomb dropped by Elon Musk about aging and muscle loss had ignited a revolution, but its true power lay in the ongoing commitment of people worldwide to imagine and create a better future. The story was no longer just about muscle or technology, it was about humanity's capacity to transform itself with courage, wisdom, and love. And that, Emily knew, was the greatest truth of all. The global momentum generated by Project Reboot and the Global Aging Innovation Network revealed new complexities and opportunities that challenged Emily in unexpected ways. As the reach of hybrid therapies expanded into diverse communities, she encountered both inspiring success stories and difficult ethical dilemmas. One pressing challenge was the emergence of disparities in access. While some regions swiftly integrated the therapies with robust infrastructure and funding, others faced barriers due to economic constraints, cultural differences, or political instability. Emily understood that without deliberate efforts to bridge these gaps, the revolution risked deepening existing inequalities. To address this, she spearheaded the creation of the Equity Access Initiative, a collaborative effort with NGOs, governments, and private partners aimed at ensuring that innovations in aging science reached marginalized populations. The initiative developed scalable, culturally adapted programs and prioritized training local healthcare workers to provide hybrid therapies with respect and sensitivity. Alongside these efforts, Emily grappled with philosophical questions about the implications of extending human vitality on identity and society. As people lived longer and maintained physical strength, traditional life stages blurred. Retirement, career trajectories, family roles, and social expectations evolved. Emily convened interdisciplinary forums with sociologists, psychologists, and ethicists to explore these transformations and guide thoughtful adaptation. She recognized the importance of preparing individuals and communities to navigate shifting narratives about purpose, legacy, and meaning. In the scientific realm, breakthroughs accelerated with the integration of multiomics data, genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, enabling unprecedented personalization of therapies. AI models grew more sophisticated, predicting optimal treatment combinations tailored to each individual's biological and lifestyle profile. Emily's team pushed the boundaries of precision medicine, blending empirical data with patient-reported experiences to refine interventions continuously. At the same time, emerging challenges in data security and privacy demanded vigilant attention. Emily advocated for transparent governance models that balanced innovation with individual rights, fostering trust through open communication and participatory oversight. Culturally, the movement inspired renewed interest in intergenerational collaboration. Programs pairing elders with youth for mentorship, creative projects, and community service flourished, enriching social fabric and fostering mutual learning. Emily championed these initiatives as vital components of holistic aging, promoting psychological well-being and social cohesion. One particularly moving example came from a coastal town where a collective of elders taught sustainable fishing techniques to local youth, combining traditional knowledge with modern conservation science. These stories underscored the power of connection and shared purpose. Media representations evolved too, with documentaries and literature exploring nuanced portrayals of aging, strength, and transformation. Emily worked closely with creators to ensure authentic and empowering narratives reached broad audiences. Public discourse shifted toward recognizing aging as a dynamic, valued life phase filled with growth and contribution. On a personal note, Emily faced moments of introspection as her own parents aged and she witnessed the challenges of caregiving and loss firsthand. These experiences deepened her empathy and resolve to create systems that honored the dignity of aging at all levels. She balanced leadership with vulnerability, inspiring her team through authentic connection. As new generations joined the movement, Emily mentored emerging leaders worldwide, nurturing diversity, creativity, and ethical mindfulness. Together, they envisioned a future where science and humanity coalesced to support thriving lives at every age. Reflecting on the journey sparked by Elon Musk's blunt truths about aging and muscle loss, Emily saw it as a catalyst not just for technological innovation but for profound societal transformation. The story was still unfolding, a living testament to human resilience, curiosity, and hope. And through it all, Emily remained committed to the core belief that every person's life held inherent value and possibility, no matter their age or circumstance. As the years progressed, Emily's work expanded beyond the laboratory and clinics into the broader cultural and spiritual dimensions of aging. Recognizing that physical vitality was only one facet of well-being, she sought to explore how meaning, purpose, and connection contributed to a life well lived in later years. She collaborated with philosophers, spiritual leaders, artists, and community organizers to cultivate spaces where aging was celebrated as a time of wisdom, creativity, and renewal. This holistic approach resonated deeply with many, inspiring new rituals, celebrations, and social practices that honored the journey of life. One initiative that Emily helped launch was the Circle of Stories, a global movement encouraging elders to share their life experiences, lessons, and hopes through storytelling, art, and performance. These gatherings, both virtual and in person, became vibrant forums for intergenerational dialogue, fostering empathy, understanding, and collective memory. Emily witnessed firsthand how these narratives empowered individuals to reclaim their identities beyond physical decline and reinforced the social fabric. Meanwhile, scientific research continued to uncover surprising connections between emotional health and muscle regeneration. Studies revealed that individuals who felt socially connected and psychologically resilient exhibited better responses to hybrid therapies, highlighting the interplay of mind and body. Emily's team integrated mental health support and community engagement as integral components of treatment protocols. Technology also evolved to support these dimensions. Virtual reality environments enabled immersive experiences that stimulated emotional well-being and social interaction for patients with mobility challenges. AI-driven platforms facilitated personalized coaching in mindfulness, creativity, and stress management, complementing physical rehabilitation. Emily partnered with tech innovators to ensure these tools were accessible and user-friendly. On the policy front, Emily worked with governments to promote age-friendly urban design, public spaces that encouraged movement, socializing, and lifelong learning. These environments fostered autonomy and inclusion, reducing isolation and enhancing quality of life. Public transportation, housing, and healthcare systems adapted to support the evolving needs of vibrant aging populations. Globally, Emily's leadership inspired a shift from viewing aging as a burden to recognizing it as an asset, a phase rich with contributions to culture, economy, and community. Economic models began to reflect this change, valuing elder entrepreneurship, mentorship, and volunteerism. Media and advertising portrayed aging with dignity and vibrancy, challenging stereotypes and opening new possibilities. Through all these developments, Emily's personal life flourished in tandem. Her relationship with Maya deepened into a lifelong partnership rooted in shared vision and mutual support. Together, they raised awareness about the importance of mental and emotional health in aging, advocating for integrated care models. Jason continued to be a beloved presence, bringing humor and balance. Reflecting on Elon Musk's original truth bomb about aging and muscle loss, Emily saw it as a spark that ignited a multidimensional revolution, one that transcended muscle tissue to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. The story was no longer just about science or technology, it was about reclaiming the meaning of life at every stage. The journey was ongoing, full of challenges and discoveries, but guided by a steadfast belief in human potential and the power of love, community, and innovation. The unfolding story of aging redefined by Project Reboot took an unexpected turn as Emily and her team encountered the emerging phenomenon of longevity paradoxes, cases where individuals with impressive physical vitality began facing new health challenges linked to extended lifespans. While muscle strength and mobility had improved dramatically, other biological systems revealed vulnerabilities not previously apparent. This prompted Emily to initiate the longevity paradox study, an ambitious multidisciplinary effort to understand the complex trade-offs involved in radically extending human health span. Drawing on genomics, systems biology, and clinical data, the team explored how enhanced muscle regeneration intersected with immune function, metabolic regulation, and cellular aging pathways. They discovered that while hybrid therapies delayed many aging markers, they also unveiled latent risks such as chronic inflammation and neurodegeneration in some individuals. This insight highlighted the need for a more integrated approach that balanced physical, cognitive, and systemic health. The study's findings sparked intense debate within the scientific community and the public sphere. Some feared that the quest to conquer aging might create unforeseen consequences or widen social divides. Others argued that these challenges underscored the imperative to deepen research and develop holistic solutions rather than retreat. Emily embraced this complexity as a vital opportunity to refine understanding and innovation. She convened international symposiums that brought together diverse voices, scientists, ethicists, policymakers, patients, and activists, to collaboratively shape the future of aging science. Transparency and inclusive dialogue became hallmarks of the movement. Meanwhile, technological advances accelerated, with next-generation bioengineering approaches aiming to address systemic vulnerabilities uncovered by the paradox study. Gene editing, nanomedicine, and regenerative scaffolds offered promising avenues to complement muscle therapies and support overall resilience. Emily's team partnered with cutting-edge labs worldwide, fostering open-source platforms to share data and accelerate discovery. Public engagement deepened as well. Educational campaigns informed communities about the nuanced realities of longevity, empowering individuals to make informed decisions about emerging therapies and lifestyle choices. Social support networks expanded to address not only physical health but mental, emotional, and social well-being. These efforts nurtured a culture of holistic aging that valued balance and adaptability. On a personal level, Emily navigated the evolving landscape with humility and curiosity. She reflected on the profound lessons embedded in the paradoxes, that every advance carried new questions and that embracing uncertainty was integral to progress. Her leadership evolved toward fostering resilience, not just physical but intellectual and emotional, within the aging movement. Intergenerational partnerships grew stronger, as youth and elders co-created solutions and shared wisdom. The narrative around aging transformed into one of ongoing learning, mutual support, and collective empowerment. As the chapter closed, Emily stood before a diverse audience at the Global Aging Congress, sharing the evolving story of human vitality. She concluded with a message that resonated deeply: aging is not a problem to be solved but a journey to be understood. Each discovery reveals new mysteries and possibilities. Together, by embracing complexity and compassion, we can create a future where every life is lived fully, muscle and mind, body and soul. The crowd erupted in applause, embodying hope, resolve, and the shared commitment to this ever-unfolding story. As the global aging movement advanced into its next phase, Emily turned her focus toward the integration of cutting-edge technology with human-centered care to create environments that supported thriving lives. The realization that healing and vitality depended not just on biological interventions but on the spaces people inhabited inspired the launch of the Vitality Living Project, an ambitious initiative to design age-inclusive, adaptive living environments. These environments combine smart home technologies, biophilic design, and community engagement to foster physical health, emotional well-being, and social connection. Emily collaborated with architects, engineers, healthcare providers, and residents to co-create spaces that were flexible, accessible, and inspiring. Sensors and AI monitored health metrics unobtrusively, enabling early intervention and personalized support. Gardens, art installations, and communal areas encouraged movement, creativity, and interaction. Residents reported profound improvements in mood, motivation, and physical activity, reinforcing the idea that environment shapes experience. Meanwhile, the science of muscle regeneration and aging advanced with breakthroughs in epigenetics and cellular reprogramming. Emily's team developed protocols that combined hybrid therapies with gene expression modulators, unlocking new potential for tissue rejuvenation and repair. Clinical trials demonstrated enhanced outcomes, and regulatory bodies approved wider use, bringing these therapies closer to mainstream care. Education and training programs expanded to prepare healthcare professionals in these novel approaches, emphasizing holistic assessment and compassionate communication. Cultural shifts paralleled scientific progress. Media campaigns celebrated stories of individuals reclaiming vitality, challenging stereotypes and inspiring action. Communities organized vitality festivals that blended physical activity, art, learning, and celebration across generations. These events fostered social cohesion and collective joy, reinforcing the values of the movement. On the policy front, Emily advocated for systemic reforms to support integrated care models, cross-sector collaboration, and sustainable funding. She worked with legislators to enact laws promoting age-friendly infrastructure, workforce development, and research investment. International partnerships facilitated knowledge exchange and harmonized standards. Personal reflections continued to shape Emily's vision. She recognized that the journey of aging was deeply personal and unique. She championed individualized pathways that honored diverse goals, cultures, and identities. Her leadership style balanced visionary ambition with grounded empathy, inspiring trust and innovation. In moments of quiet, Emily revisited Elon Musk's original truth bomb, how muscle loss was a hidden yet fundamental aspect of aging, and marveled at how that insight had blossomed into a global movement reshaping life itself. The story was far from over. It was a living, breathing testament to human creativity, resilience, and hope. As the chapter drew to a close, Emily stood amidst a bustling community center, watching elders and youth engage in dance, conversation, and laughter. She smiled, knowing that vitality was more than muscle, it was the heart of human connection, the pulse of life renewed at every age. In the wake of the Vitality Living Project's success, Emily's attention shifted toward the broader societal implications of transforming aging. She realized that redefining how people experienced their later years required challenging deep-rooted cultural narratives and systemic structures that often marginalized elders. To address this, Emily launched the Age Reimagined initiative, a global campaign to reshape perceptions of aging through education, media, policy, and grassroots activism. The initiative aimed to dismantle ageism and promote inclusive attitudes that valued the contributions and dignity of all ages. Emily collaborated with educators to integrate aging studies into curricula at all levels, empowering young people with knowledge and empathy. Media partnerships brought nuanced, positive portrayals of aging to television, film, and social platforms, sparking conversations and inspiring new norms. Grassroots groups mobilized to advocate for elder rights, combat discrimination, and create intergenerational programs that fostered mutual understanding and collaboration. Policy engagement was another key pillar. Emily worked with governments to reform social and economic policies that disadvantaged older adults, advocating for equitable healthcare access, flexible employment opportunities, and social protections. She emphasized the importance of involving elders in decision-making processes, ensuring their voices shaped the systems that impacted their lives. These efforts began to shift societal frameworks, creating more age-friendly workplaces, communities, and institutions. As Age Reimagined gained traction, Emily witnessed a cultural renaissance where aging became associated not with decline but with growth, wisdom, and possibility. Public events celebrated elder creativity, leadership, and innovation, showcasing the diverse ways people continued to contribute meaningfully. Intergenerational mentorship programs flourished, breaking down stereotypes and building bridges. Simultaneously, scientific research expanded into exploring how social determinants influenced biological aging, highlighting the interplay between environment, community, and health. Emily championed integrative approaches that addressed both the social and biological facets of aging, reinforcing the holistic vision at the movement's core. On a personal level, Emily reflected on her own evolving identity within this transformed landscape. She embraced her role not only as a scientist and leader but as a catalyst for cultural change and community building. The support of Maya, Jason, and the extended network of allies sustained her through challenges and triumphs. The original truth bomb about muscle loss continued to resonate, a reminder that beneath every scientific breakthrough lay profound human stories and aspirations. As the chapter closed, Emily stood on stage at an international summit, surrounded by a diverse audience spanning generations and cultures. She spoke passionately about the power of reimagining aging, not as an endpoint but as a vital, dynamic journey filled with potential. Her words echoed through the hall: "When we change the way we see aging, we change the way we live our lives. Together, we can build a world where every age is honored, every voice is heard, and every life is celebrated." The crowd rose in a standing ovation, embodying hope, unity, and the ongoing commitment to this transformative vision. As the culmination of years of relentless work, Emily prepared for the Global Aging Summit, an event bringing together scientists, policymakers, activists, and citizens from around the world to celebrate progress and chart the future of aging innovation. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation and hope. Emily reflected on the incredible journey that had unfolded since Elon Musk's provocative statement about muscle loss, how a simple truth bomb had sparked a worldwide movement that redefined aging, health, and human potential. At the summit, groundbreaking research was unveiled, including new therapies that integrated muscle regeneration with cognitive enhancement and emotional resilience. Panels explored ethical frameworks for longevity technologies, ensuring equitable access and respect for diversity. Stories from individuals whose lives had been transformed added a profoundly human dimension to the scientific discourse. Emily delivered the keynote address, weaving together science, philosophy, and personal narrative. She emphasized that aging was not merely a biological process to be conquered but a complex, beautiful part of life that demanded holistic understanding and compassion. She shared insights from the front line of innovation, the challenges faced, and the lessons learned about resilience, community, and hope. She acknowledged the sacrifices and collaborations that made progress possible and called on all attendees to continue fostering inclusivity and ethical stewardship. The summit also spotlighted emerging leaders and cross-sector partnerships, highlighting the importance of diversity in shaping the future. Youth representatives spoke alongside elders, reflecting the intergenerational commitment to ongoing discovery and care. Cultural performances celebrated aging's richness across traditions and geographies, reinforcing a global sense of shared humanity. Throughout the event, Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment and renewal. The movement had grown beyond a scientific revolution to become a societal transformation rooted in love, respect, and curiosity. She recognized that the journey was far from over, each breakthrough opened new questions, and each story illuminated fresh possibilities. In closing, Emily invited the audience to envision a world where aging was embraced with joy and dignity, where muscle loss was not feared but understood, and where every individual could live a vibrant, meaningful life regardless of age. The applause was thunderous, a collective affirmation of the vision that had begun with a truth bomb and blossomed into a beacon of hope. As the summit concluded, Emily looked toward the horizon with optimism, knowing that the story of aging, and human potential, was still being written, one breakthrough, one connection, and one life at a time. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?